Okay, moving on to segment number 2. And Jolly, again, put this one on the list, mostly because he's the least technical out of the 6 of us. No offense, Jolly.
True.
Jolly shows up and he goes,
It's back.
It's a close
Well,
second for
the question we had, this is the question we really had for Jay, is internet speed. Okay, now here's my knowledge of internet speed. What's the most expensive package I could buy from my provider? Well, that's the one I want.
right.
It's that simple.
It's got the most
no real
numbers.
thought involved. Give me the biggest number. That's what I want. And I do have a very good, very strong. I don't have 1G, but they don't offer it where I live. They offer it in the city, but just not where I live. So I've got a really good. I get about 580 download and about 18 to 20 on upload, and I'm happy with that. But I'm wondering how much of this is that I'm wasting my time. I hear a lot of guys, they'll have 100 down, 100 up. Otherwise, the spoiled brats have got 1 gig going for them and stuff like that. And I've always thought, what's the men you really need to play Star Citizen? Where's the point where, look, I'm now wasting my money on internet
Charlie,
speed I don't need?
You're saving time with your download because Star Citizen is one of the things that I see the highest download speeds on. So whenever a new update comes out, you're saving time there. I know that.
Yeah. For updates, yeah, absolutely.
Sure. So, we really need to get to talk about this from a perspective of, first we have to put out caveats. As we talk about technical issues, we have to talk about the scope of the technical advice I'm providing in this case. And I'm sure Nam has some opinions and we'll go from there. Nam and I work in IT. So out of the 6 of us, I think that's probably where you're going to get your best thoughts. But the first is, we're talking about to play the game, to play it, not to download it, not to stream, not to do anything else. The truth is, to play the game safely, you're going to see spikes above 6 and 7 megabits per second on downlink, and you're going to see spikes up to 2.5 megabits, maybe 3 megabits on uplink with just the game. Okay? So, as a general rule, that's in megabits per second. Megabits per second, not megabytes, megabits. So, as a general rule, you are going to have other things on top of Star Citizen running. So if you're running voice like Mumble, TeamSpeak, Discord, that's going to add a couple hundred kilobits per second or 0.2, maybe 0.3 worst case scenario, both up and down to that. So it's a rounding error. But so really what you want to do is double that. So if you need 6 megabits or 8 megabits, you want to have somewhere between 12 and 15 megabits, probably somewhere in that ballpark. 12, 15, somewhere 16, somewhere in that is your minimum downlink speed. And then your minimum uplink speed, you're probably going to want to have to be at least 5, 6 megabits, preferably a little faster than that. Nam, what are your thoughts? Do you agree or disagree with my assessment there?
All on point. First thing get across to people is bandwidth isn't speed. I mean, it helps with this when the sudden demand for data to download, but bandwidth is how much you can get down there. But there's also latency.
That's the other thing.
And that varies greatly between whether you have a DSL from the phone system. Cable modems are typically better than those, and then if you're lucky enough to have fiber in your area. But the other thing is, it's really, a lot of people don't understand the difference between, they think they have 100 megabit and that's all they know, but their upload might only be 5 or 10. And that's where they're getting killed. Case in point, I used to have the cable service here, and I was trying to do Skype with you guys, and it kept lagging out. And it was the upload was killing me, even though they said it would cap out at about 20, 25. I wasn't really getting that. And I'm talking megabit, not megabyte. And I said, well, what's the best plan you got? So that's the 400 megabyte plan, megabit plan. And what's the upload on that? Oh, it's the same. So as soon as a fiber provider rolled out in my town, and I'm lucky in that for the size of my city that we have fiber, I took it and ran with it. And it's been great ever since then. And it's not just that they have the same upload as download, but it's also much lower latency than cable or DSL, which
Yep.
helps with lag in the game, in any game really.
So I think we would agree a general rule of thumb is fiber is better than cable, cable is better than DSL, and DSL is better than satellite. And if all you could get is satellite internet, you shouldn't be playing computer games. I'm sorry, it sucks. Until Starlink comes out from SpaceX, you're just out of luck. Okay. DSL is pretty crappy, and in most places where you can only get DSL, it's because you're too far away to get cable, and you're going to have crappy speeds. Some exceptions apply. So you want cable or fiber. Those are really the two, and you want to make sure that if you're in cable land, you want to ask your provider if they support DOCSIS 3.1. If they don't, then that should scare you quite a bit, and you should probably, because that means their uplink is going to be pretty bad. So, Redwaters, come join us at Atlas Defense Industries. I love this org. So many good people to play this game and many more. Well, thank you, Red. We really appreciate your feeling that way about the org. Now, if you're going to do anything else, the information I have just given you on this bandwidth is not applicable. If you're going to stream, if you're going to watch music videos while you're playing the game or something like that, these rough back of napkin math settings are not good. So, Leiden, satellite internet has somewhere between 500 milliseconds and 2000 milliseconds of latency. A decent cable connection is going to have somewhere between 20 and 30 milliseconds, maybe a little bit lower, 10 to 30 milliseconds, something like that. A decent fiber connection is going to generally have somewhere in the 10 to 20 milliseconds. To a certain extent, once you get to the pop of the provider and you hit the backbone, cable and fiber just kind of meld in together at that point. You just get the fiber benefit for that little 10-mile jaunt down to the near, or 20-mile jaunt or 30-mile jaunt down to the nearest point of presence where you get on the internet superhighway.
When it comes to that, there, Jay, and this would probably be for you too, Nam. Had a lot of folks lately kind of say, "Hey, can't hear audio, can't see your stream and things of that nature." I don't think a lot of folks are aware that it's not necessarily the streamer, but it could be their internet.
Could be there. Yes, it definitely, lots of people do not have very good internet, but they think it's your fault when you sound weird or their stuff doesn't play right.
Yep.
Without a doubt. That
That
is
was
part of it.
one of the key differences between fiber and cable, though, is to keep in mind the stated number you get. With fiber, if it's 1 gigabit, you're getting 1 gigabit. If it's cable, it's up to that amount.
Well, fiber is technically up to that amount as well, because you have to remember that while the point to, so cable and fiber are different technologies. Cable is a shared broadcast amongst a neighborhood node, and there's a lot of bandwidth in a neighborhood node. Generally speaking, you're probably going to get your line rated speeds. The fiber is, yes, it's 1 gig from you to the point of presence. But once you get muxed in with all the other traffic, how much bandwidth they have going out to the internet superhighway is different. And so you can find fiber installations where they have less available bandwidth during certain peak hours than a similar cable installation for downlink. Uplink fiber is going to kill you every time, or beat every time. But for downlink, really oversubscription happens in both environments. So you can't. Fiber is not superior to cable just blindly. It generally is superior because it generally is better constructed and is lower latency slightly.
Yeah, Terraform pointed out, if you're not getting what you're paying for, Duke Circuit playing, and I've had to do that in my past too, you should be checking your speeds on your computer don't use the company's speed check. Use somebody else's, and see if you're getting what you're paying for, or at least close to what you're getting for. And if you're not, call your company and say, "Hey, hold on, I'm paying for this. I'm getting that." I've done that a couple times, and sure enough, they send a tech out. They find some problem on their end, they fix it, and all of a sudden, I'm getting better than what I'm paying for. So, do complain.
Yeah, I've done that.
Speedtest.net is what I would recommend going and using. It is a great little website. Don't click on any of the ads. There's like a dozen of them, but it's a good test.
I made a little. I had to deal with that a bit, making complaints to the cable company back when I was on them, and uh, and then I started getting to doing it for family members because they needed help with it and they didn't know the right things to say. And by the end of it, I think they probably had my picture on a wall saying, because I would get looks when I would walk into the store after a while. So yeah,
So I will say this: if you're on a cable provider and not getting the speeds that they promise you, particularly if you live in the state of Kentucky, hint, 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 somebody on the chat or on the panel with me, there is this thing in most states called the Public Service Commission or Public Utilities Commission. And you should contact them and file a formal complaint. Because once you do that, they by law have a certain number of days to resolve said complaint, or they start getting fined by the state if they're a cable or telephone provider. So, for some odd reason, when you do that after you've exhausted the tech support issues and they still haven't fixed it, they fix those problems very quickly, unlike going, we don't know how to fix it. All of a sudden, there's work crews out there because it's something like $500 a day after they hit the 30-day mark on one of those.
wish I'd known that a year ago. It's
Sorry.
kind of a moot point now.
Yep, should have asked. So, but just a thought, make sure that you utilize, they are a utility if they're cable or telephone or cable providers. Utilize that Public Service Commission or whoever you have in your city or your state to your advantage. True internet only providers are not covered by that in most cases, unless they're also providing franchise-based TV or telephone service. So there we go. That's I think we've answered that. To the non-technicals, Jolly, do you have a better understanding, or did all that just sound like womp,
sure
womp, womp, womp,
I need 100
womp?
or cable.
Turn.
Yeah,
Did you learn anything?
I was running speed.net while we were talking, so
Oh.
I'm good.
How about you, Hendrosa? Did you learn anything from that, or just all in one ear and out the other?
Oh no, God, I've sat with you many a times, and same thing with Terrafon, Nam. I always hit the good sources to do that. Not to mention I've updated mine probably like 6 months ago, and it's running like a champ.
Josh, what about you?
I didn't know about the Public Utilities Commission part. That seems really useful. I know plenty of people that have had ongoing internet issues and ended up just switching providers because of it, and maybe going to an option that wasn't their best choice. So I thought that was really good to know.
Well, I'm going to tell a little story here and embarrass my beautiful bride of 20 years. When I and her and I first started dating, I worked as the director of operations for an internet company. And we had a house and we ran the ISP from the house, and I lived there with it. Go ahead and wave hi to everybody. Switch over to yourself. I know you don't want to do that. Yes, you do. She's refusing to even wave to the public. She's not having any of that. But I'm going to convince her. Come on, just say hi to
she's
everybody.
Producer. She's in charge.
They can't hear you.
Look like I haven't even heard this story yet.
Yeah, she hasn't heard. But so when we first met, one of the bedrooms was the tech support office, and we had this banner printout that hung up at the wall that said "Bell South is the Antichrist."
Wow.
Because 80% of our time was chasing Bell South around to fix phone line problems associated with the service we were providing. It was hours and hours and hours. And so I learned very quickly how to manipulate the system to get them to go do the stuff that they needed to do. And Also, I learned about coats and money in pockets during that period of time too. Nothing like
I would say
$100.
that- I'll say that Florida has a very good public service commission, so that would
They do.
that
Yes.
would definitely hold up down here.
Yep.